The following is a presentation of the ControlTrends Podcasting Network.
Here we go. ControlTalk Now, your HVAC at Smart Buildings Controls, videocast and podcast. All the control news you can use for the week ending May 5th, 2019. This is episode 314, where we talk about all things smart building controls. And boy, I tell you, I know our listeners out there, Kenny, they're seeing your face up on screen. They are so glad to have you back.
Sure.
In case you missed it, you still have an opportunity to possibly win $50 Amazon card. If you answer the following question correct, as you know, we've had an ongoing contest regarding where in the world is Kenny Smyers. And just to review the answers one more time, and Kenny will do the big reveal at the end of the show. He's not giving anything away now.
Got to watch it to the end of the show.
Got to watch it at the end of the show. That's right, Kenny Smyers. So again, your choices were Kenny is an undisclosed Kenny was at an undisclosed location working with GSA, helping them with cybersecurity for building automation control systems, doing some consulting work for GSA. Second choice, Kenny, and in case you didn't know, Kenny's done some modeling in his days. I'm not trying to give anything away. Was doing a Ralph Lauren photo shoot. Ralph Lauren's going to introduce his summer collection, and he was in Napa Valley doing this. Third choice, Kenny was sequestered in an undisclosed location by a major controls manufacturer that is revamping and getting ready to relaunch their building automation controls line. And they had taken the man, the myth, the legend, locked him in a room, and were picking his brains for great ideas to get that done. The third choice, and not to give anything away, but Kenny's is a big Beatles aficionado, knows a lot about the Beatles. Esquire magazine had hired Kenny to do a featured story on the Beatles' early days in Liverpool, England, and Kenny was actually in Liverpool on location writing this article. And if you saw when Kenny and I did the last EZIO meeting in Manchester, we did a tour down to Liverpool, put a video up on where Kenny sort of walked us through the history. So that's another strong possibility. The next one is Kenny was on a mission from God in locations undisclosed. Next choice, all of the above, which if you know the man, the myth, the legend, he's quite the multitasker. And last but not least, none of the above. So you still have an opportunity to reach out in contacts. And you have an opportunity to reach out in comments. If you happen to get this right, $50 gift card from Amazon. All right, Kenny Smyers, man, I can't wait to get the big reveal either, because you didn't even tell me where the heck you were. So,
well, can I win the prize?
No, you cannot win the prize. Goodness gracious, Kenny Smyers. All right, brother. Well, listen, one place we do know we were in Detroit, Michigan last week. And what the heck were we doing there, brother?
Eric, we were covering the ControlCon 2019, and this was at the Motor City Casino Hotel in beautiful downtown Detroit. And I don't say that to be funny. Detroit is going through a major enhancement, renovation. The pride that these folks are feeling was evident throughout the ControlCon 2019. We had representatives. We actually had the opportunity to go visit two sites and had the ambassador from Detroit took the time and energy to make sure that everybody was very well received that could make those tours. And we'll talk about more of those later. Kim Brown actually gave us some good insight to those. And then the professionals that were there, the individuals from Ford, GM, Scott Cochrane. I mean, they're just bubbling with a lot of the activities that are going, because the irony was that the Silicon Valley, we wonder where the next cradle of civilization and where all the world's talent's going as far as, what's next in the future, whether it's IT, AI, M to M, whatever. It's got to have a house to base it. It's got to have a physical location. It's got to have the people and talent, the ecosystem necessary to keep it going and running. And Detroit believes that they are going to get their share of this new technology, this new quasi Silicon Valley style location, because it just they got people that really are taking an earnest interest investment wise in Detroit and some of their future potentials.
I believe you're referring to a quote by the lovely Kim Brown on the interview, which we'll be posting on Control Trends, when Kim Brown said, Detroit is the new Silicon Valley of the Midwest.
Right.
So Atlanta is the new Silicon Valley of the Southeast. And I would venture to say Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, because you and your brother Dave are there, is the better Silicon Valley of the Northeast.
We'll be the baby Silicon Valley. I think that, to your point, you're right. I was there and evidenced or got my empirical data from Atlanta. I was overwhelmed with the concentration of talent, especially in that Georgia Tech area and the money, and then having Honeywell's corporate location come down there, moving it out of New Jersey. And so it's like, people get caught up in that. It is a momentum thing, and it's like a critical mass. Once you get it, more things come. It just starts, people gravitate because of the interest and because of the resources that are and the pay. I mean, the going rate is when there's a demand and the supply is limited, it makes people happy that are competent, that are very good at what they do, and they migrate towards these centers and get on board. Pittsburgh does have a couple things going for it. They have Google, they have Uber, and they've got a couple of the new techs in here because we're one of those confounded cities that if they can make autonomous vehicles work in Pittsburgh, they really truly feel they can make it work in any hard case scenario.
Now, hang on, is that because of the nature of the typical Pittsburgh driver?
All the above.
That they would be getting out of the car and punching out an autonomous vehicle because it cut them off in traffic or was driving?
The lack of turn signals, the fact you got to come in racing 55 miles an hour from this lane to get over 4 lanes in about a space of a quarter mile to get to the area. It's just, it's as chaotic. What made Pittsburgh important was, of course, the rivers. You had 2 rivers come, Monongahela, Allegheny, converge, make the Ohio, which was the gateway to the West in the old days. And the Cool, right there in Pittsburgh, right across from the Golden Triangle, that was called Coal Hill. That was the largest deposit of black bituminous coal in the United States, and the government, protected it with the old Nike sites, if you remember back in old history, old lore. But those things that made Pittsburgh important now are what cursed Pittsburgh from growth. The fact that there's more bridges in Pittsburgh than any metropolitan area, not counting Venice or counting Amsterdam. But
really, I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Real live bridges, yeah. I mean, what you got?
You saying that's a deterrent now to people coming to Pittsburgh, or
no? I'm saying it makes it difficult to grow, and the point I was making was that if Uber in the autonomous vehicle, Uber is working with Volvo, and they run around and the convoys. There's like 4 or 6 vehicles, and they've got those geodomes on top of and they're driving in a group, really get it. But I've seen them twice or 3 times navigate through the very tight areas where you're coming in from 3 different points, and you're coming into like the Fort Pitt tunnels, and you've got to be very skillful. I mean, a lot of people curse because they missed the turn, and when you miss that turn, getting onto
you're not making a U-turn there, are you?
You're not making a U-turn anytime soon. You're upset, and but Silicon Valley, we do have some extraordinary intelligentsia in the area. Carnegie Mellon University, of course, is our equivalent at MIT, and and Berkeley and Stanford, because we've got some Seagate moved here because of the proximity of Carnegie Mellon University. And they've got one of the experimental labs. And of course, the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center has its share of government work because of the incredible wealth of talent it has on campus at Pitt. So like other places in the country, we're fortunate that we do have a concentration of smart people and are attracting more smart people from around the world. So but nothing on the magnitude like Georgia, though. Nothing on the magnitude of Atlanta.
Well, yeah, Atlanta's crazy. The thing I think I like a lot about Pittsburgh, Kenny, is I think Pittsburgh, like a lot of the cities from the Northeast, there's sort of a culture there. I mean, because you go to any city in the United States and there's a football game, there's a bar with the Pittsburgh Steelers, all the fans are there. So, I mean, it seems like there's a real I've never met anybody that wasn't proud that they were from Pittsburgh. So it's got to be a pretty cool place to live and a pretty cool lifestyle. And what makes Pittsburgh special?
Yeah, I think it's a grassroots thing. I think that you have a very family-centric environment where the different nationalities. You have just the 5 parts of Pittsburgh. When you come into them, you have the Polish Hill, you have the Italian area, you have the German area, you have the what used to be the North Side, which was a very tough area that's now being transitioned into a high rent district. So you had a lot of ethnic groups that were very close family oriented, and then they were very competitive. One school would fight the other school over a football game or whatever. But I think back then they had the ability to fight and release. I mean, it wasn't like life or death like it is now, where you've got bullets flying. But every area was proud of itself and then proud of the city, and it's very small and it's very esoteric. I mean, you bump into everybody around here. We, at our highest heyday, we had like 879,000 people. Now we're under 400,000 in the Pittsburgh area. Now in the surrounding areas, the North Hills, South Hills, Monroeville area, we have a combination metropolitan of 2.2 million. So it's a fairly good size, but it's nothing. Again, it's very small and it's very difficult. The people that decided Pittsburgh's fame and fortune, namely Richard K. Mellon, and K stood for King. We some of the richest people on earth have made their fortunes here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Carnegie, right? It was a steel industry.
Oh yeah, Carnegie, Frick, Mellons, but there was a chance for the federal government made monies available to build a beltway around Pittsburgh, like all other cities do, and they decided to spend that money somewhere else. The whole idea was to keep people where they're at, and they created basically a spoke style of transportation. So if you live in the North Hills and you want to go to the South Hills, you have to go through the city. You don't have the ability to go around the beltway,
Wow.
And so that was done deliberately to deter mass migration of people. So if you were born in a small town, you worked in a steel mill in your town, you bought your food and drinks there, and then you basically went to school there. And very few people escaped that heavy gravitational pull to remain in Pittsburgh.
Well, how is the steel industry now? I mean, is it still there? Is it starting to come back, or is it pretty much?
What steel industry? There's nothing here. There's specialty steel there's one steel mill still in operation, and that's the Thompson steel mill down there. And you very rarely see any smoke coming out of the crowd. It's not smoke, pollution smoke. It's steam, but it's all specialty steel. We have a few niche specialty steel industry players here in Pittsburgh. Fracking is the big thing. Shell oil, Shell's putting in a $1 billion fracking thing where we're having a rebound in that regard. In fact, we work with the trades, and the trades are overwhelmed. They've got 1,600 steam fitters out there in this project, and they're working around the clock, welders or whatever, to get this fabrication up, because the amount of gas and oil we have in this area is extraordinary. And now the plastic industries are building an ecosystem around this shell thing. There's like 20 corporations building because they're going to be taking this natural gas and whatever and breaking it down and making plastics out of it. So, or the different compounds that they can make. So they're going to create the base compound for plastics, and then make different things, whether it's molding or whatever, automobile industry parts or whatever. So, but and then of course,
a resurgence, man, big resurgence.
Well, the pollution killed. If you remember back in the '70s, early '70s, we actually were definitely, we earned the title, every bit of it, that we were probably the most polluted city in the United States. I mean, we had, our rivers were self-igniting. Chemicals were coming down river on fire. And there was no aquatic life. And then when the EPA came in, shut things down, the steel industries migrated to Michigan and to Birmingham, Alabama. So what do you call it? And then
Leeds. I mean, Alabama's going to England, like Leeds, Alabama, and all that.
Oh, absolutely. And those guys are, they're going to have their day in court with it too, because it's just you can't do one without creating the negative externalities of pollution.
Well, listen, I think maybe the best export to come out of Pittsburgh, in my opinion, and see if you agree or disagree with this, is Flashdance, the movie.
Absolutely, that was that put us on the map. That was one of the best dance solos I've ever seen. Huh?
When are they going to do the sequel to that, Betty?
I think they did one already, but it just never had the.
Well, you guys, to your point, I mean, you guys have great writers that come out of Pittsburgh. Great scientists. There's a great culture there, and so anyway, Kenny, I mean, we're glad to have you back. We missed you.
Well, thank you. I am anxious to do the reveal. I can say that I grew an inch. I matured through the experience of my recent travels and whatnot.
Yeah, but I don't think we're going to give anything away with this, but Kenny also regarding all these, he was able to take a picture of a Russian Uber, which I think we'll post that maybe in the show. You got the little video of the Russian Uber you shot?
Well, I do actually have a picture of a Russian Uber, the yellow Uber, and then I've got the
no, the Russian Uber, the one you showed me. That's all we're gonna say. All right, buddy. So let's why don't we hit a couple of posts, and I want to cycle back around and really do a deep dive on ControlCon, and then talk about where we're going to be.
Well, sure. Well, the first thing started out, the week past was that the Ken St. Clair released another edition of the automated buildings, the May 2019. And the editorial thing was very, very catchy and very, very important because Ken's new stride is that while technology comes and goes and disruption creates a maelstrom of negative and challenging opportunities, one thing remains constant. And what is that, Eric?
People.
Great. Good answer. Yeah.
You almost had me there, brother.
No, he said it's a magnificent perspective because it's true, and he goes into depth to justify his observation in the editorial because they're the impact players. I mean, he used John Petsy just to cheat a little bit and tell some. We'd like people to go to read the post, but to give you some idea of what we're talking about. He said how John had evolved in the industry. He started out with the Teletrol. Andover, and he went to Tritium, and he was, the business, in charge of business. Then he took over as CEO. Then he went on to SkySpark, and now anywhere he went, it didn't matter where John went. What mattered was John, and he was going to be successful and lead his team into a successful outcome. And he believes that every organization that is successful over time has one of these champions or multiple champions, like we learned with Cochrane Supply and like Stromquist has. You've got guys that their careers are 40 years, and along the way, it reminds me of the father of bureaucracy, a gentleman named Max Weber, a German fellow who believed that in order to have a successful society, you had to have a healthy bureaucracy. We take bureaucracy as a bad, connotation. It means that you get caught in traffic and you can't get something through. You can't get to the top and back in the same year, let alone taxes, extra people working, and just on that magic milk train. But the reality is, in organization, you have to have your mentorship has to occur. And as Ken says again with the people, sometimes the mentorship doesn't necessarily mean the older employees mentoring the younger employees, but versus the younger employees are now mentoring the older employees because he calls us digital immigrants. You and I are digital immigrants where we're being trained and brought into the IT world and opened up these new avenues of technology through our mentors, which are digital natives. They were born in the digital world. To them, this all makes perfect sense. And if you're having trouble with your iPhone, go ask them how to do it.
Dude, I got to tell you something. I told it last week on the show, but I didn't get a chance to tell you this, man. So my daughter, Evelyn, talk about the digital native. She's 5 or 6 now. And she's been writing books. I mean, literally writing books. And she can barely write it. She's learning to write in school and learning to spell. And we couldn't figure this out because she would come and she'd hand us these printed pages with these books she was writing. But what she did was she figured out, she got her mom's iPhone. She would go around and she would dictate into the iPhone. And then she figured out she could print it on the printer all by herself. And so she'd talk into the iPhone, get this book, and then it would translate. Then she'd print it, and then she'd show it to us. Here's the book I just wrote. I mean, it's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It's very amazing. And I think, to the testament, as a testament, we didn't have that affinity with, to us learning new stuff that we weren't familiar with. We didn't do our homework. I mean, we still write cursive. I still write cursive. I still love to write. And they don't even teach cursive.
I got to tell you something though. And we're going to deviate a little bit here because I think this is an important conversation. Because I think and it gets back to what Ken St. Clair is saying, I mean, about the fact that we really need to be mentored by the younger mentors, but the younger mentors need to be mentored by us too. Because I tell you, as you know, I've studied a ton about, how the brain works with the body and so on and so forth. I studied with some of the best hypnotists on the planet and just made a deep dive because communication is all based on, how the brain receives information. There are firings that go off in the brain when you write, when you physically write. There are firings that go off in the brain that don't when you type and don't when you, do all this other stuff. So for our younger people out there, you gotta at least spend some time writing every day just because the firing's in the brain. It creates neural pathways that you're not going to get any other way. So that's one. The second thing, Kenny, is I'm reading a book now called Deep Work. and you got to read this. It is eye-opening. And it's basically talking about how in this digital culture we're in and in the business culture we're in, we're not necessarily rewarded for productivity, or we are rewarded for productivity, but productivity is measured on what he calls shallow work. And not that this isn't important, but how many emails you respond to, how many this, how many that you do. Deep work can only be done through deep concentration for extended periods of time. And he gives example upon example in the book of everything that was ever new and created was done through periods of sustained deep work. It's not that you can't do both, but what he's arguing about, and the guy who wrote it is Cal Newport, is the guy who wrote this book. What he's arguing is that a lot of these digital natives are really good at the shallow work, really good at so on and so forth. They can multitask, they do all this stuff, but they're losing the ability to go deep and do deep concentration. Okay. And he argues that that's a muscle just like anything else. And if you don't exercise it, you don't use it. Now, here's the thing you're going to like, Kenny, because this is definitely bodes for old guys like us. He thinks that, the bane of technology is that it's going to keep, getting more and more efficient and eating itself, right? So that he thinks eventually, if you're really, really good at, the shallow work, a lot of that stuff, that you're going to be in jeopardy, because eventually they're going to have the robots and the machines are going to be able to do a lot of that better and faster than you are. But what he argues is that if you can do deep work, which he's, again, part of his premise is if things continue like they are now without people learning to do this, that if you can do deep work, it doesn't matter what happens with technology, you are going to have a place in the economy. And not only that, you're going to be very, very well compensated for that.
I can see that. And I like to hear that because I believe in that. I've been reading other stuff too, and artificial intelligence has caught my attention. I got another book I just started, Artemis, about the it's the things that we keep coming on, Eric. And I wrote down this title, Deep Work. I'll have to get that one. But I've been getting about a book a week and slowing down a little bit. But I just enjoy the science fiction coming to life. Going back to the first man in the moon. And how incredibly ridiculous that sounded back in 19 something or other, 2012, 28, whenever the books were published, and then 68, it's a real reality. We're putting, we're getting ready to launch things off, and we put a couple people on the moon, and I just heard some blowback on that. I have a German friend who still insists that that's a crock of crap. The first one, maybe the second, third ones were real, but the first one was basic. The plan B, plan A didn't work or something. And so I said, look, I don't know, we don't have enough beer to go.
Sounds to me like a little bit of sour wiener schnitzel.
I don't know what it was, but to think how we get different perspectives around the world about the same event and everything brings it down to you're talking about the deep thought and transitioning to some of the posts we have and some of the people we met. They are all deep thinkers. I mean, we were exposed to some really smart people this last couple of days, and they were focused on our industry, and that's where I think you go to these shows, these events, and you attend webinars, because there's just so much going on right now. You can't filter out what's important. You can't separate the wheat from the chaff. I said it right this time. And because remember time I said it, chafe, and you ragged me for the whole show. But anyhow,
it's not Jejune anymore.
Okay. So the hearing these people explain to us what is next up online. I mean, we heard some great things like competition always approached us from the right or the left. It was like we were on the landscape. Predators either came from the right or the left. Very few things came out of the air and swooped down, and pterodactyls, were very, very sparse. But he says our threats right now in our industry and what we're all doing for a living right now, you're not going to see it coming from the right, and you're not going to see the cloud of smoke coming from the left. It's going to come swooping down from 30,000 feet from one of these big cloud application providers that have unlimited deep pockets and can afford to make mistakes and destroy everything in sight, and then have just don't pay a dividend that quarter and redo it, and learn from their mistakes and then get the right people on board. So it was a real eye-opening thing, and some of the things we heard, like, look, Ma, no phone. Even the iPhone, as extraordinary as it has been, how up it brought us all onto that digital world we're talking about, and how the smart device now is connected to the building automation system, and it is your conduit, it is your portal to happiness and productivity inside buildings. And we're hearing that is going to live a short cycle because it's too much friction. There's too much playing around. There's too many thumb drops and misspelled words and whatever. It's all going to be voice and video.
Yeah. The cameras, man, the cameras are so inexpensive right now. And the camera technology is what's really, really, that coupled with the voice activation, it's all going to change. And I think, Kenny, the really encouraging thing for me that I heard more so now than anything, anytime in the past, is that where there really is a place for our industry in this. I mean, if you stay up, you can't put your head in the sand and ignore it because it's coming. But, if you sort of embrace it, you can, we're going to participate in it. You can be a major participant because at the end of the day, like Scott Cochrane says, somebody's still got to make the water go through the pipes and the air go through the building and stuff like that. And so there are levels to this, right? So that sort of middle level. But I think you have to understand the upper level, the technology that's coming in to make that work. So, I think, my message to our community would be, don't be overwhelmed. Okay. And, I've been, something else, a concept that I've sort of have revisited, Kenny, and I bring this up vis-a-vis because when used to hear this stuff, I used to wonder, okay, what's my path to be able to participate in this, right? It seems so overwhelming. Well, just become an IT professional, become this, become that, which, it just gets so overwhelming that it does make you want to stick your head in the sand. But here's a concept. It's a Japanese concept called Kaizen. And Kaizen is, sort of at the heart of the quality movement. And it's not like you become an IT professional or whatever overnight, because nobody does that. The concept of Kaizen is you try to get just a little bit better every single day. And that adds up. That gets a momentum of its own. And so what I would encourage our community to do is sort of do a gap analysis. If you listen to our show, if you read Ken Sinclair's Automated Buildings, any of our shows, we're kind of giving you an idea of where the industry is probably going to go. We're giving you an idea of the skill set you're going to need to have, right? So take an honest look. Here's where I'm at. Here's where I need to be. And then put together a Kaizen plan. You've got time to do this. This isn't going to happen overnight. It's coming fast. But if you can begin to gradually get a little bit better every day in those fields, that would be one suggestion I would have. The other suggestion I would have, Kenny, and we've talked about this on the show before, as the network economy continues to grow and as this stuff starts coming faster, more fast and furious, no one person or one company can do it all. We're all going to have to work together. We've talked about this ad nauseum for the last couple of years, but I think that's a trend that's not going to go away. And what I would say, equally as important, or maybe even more important to what you know, is who you know. Okay? Because if you know the right people and you can pull the team together, if you can be that connector, you do your piece of a project, but then you bring somebody else in that can bring the other pieces together. Those are the people that are going to win. So the thought process of before, if I'm going to do this on my own, I'm going to be on an island, that is the kiss of death. It really is as we go forward. So, concentrate on your network, the currency you trade on in the networked economy. Again, it's not so much your knowledge, it's who you know, but as Jeff Hout from AI once told us, the networked economy is now the integrity economy. You trade off of your integrity. So that means you basically do what you say you're going to do. You don't screw other people. You don't eat off their plates. If somebody invites you onto a job to co-work with them, you don't go take that customer away and they don't take yours away, because people have got to trust you if you're going to be able to take advantage of the networked economy. Agree or disagree?
I agree completely. And I just add one thing to that the attendance of these things. So you said to do a gap analysis, find out where you're, create a journey, a path, and we got to hear a lot of exciting anecdotes and analogies. And I think we can share some of them as we go through the show. But one of the most important things, realizations that I see, and the enrichment of coming away from the 2-day trip that we had up in Detroit at the ControlCon, was that there was a Cliff Note style of delivery of information where somebody else has done a lot of work and prepared themselves to give a very professional, profound presentation, and has done all that filtering, extracted all the stuff you don't need to know and brought it to your doorstep, so to speak, or brought it to your chair. You sit there and you can take notes, you can record it, but you learn, and then you take that back to home base and you do that gap analysis, and now you've got ideas on how to get there. There's nothing more convincing, what do they call that? Missouri style of management. Show me, convince me that this is going to deliver the goods we want, the return on investment. We're hearing some different philosophies now saying that if you go to these places, they have case studies. So these experts are coming, they're being invited to these shows, and they're taking the time and energy to produce this incredibly professional packaged presentation of nothing but the juice, the real stuff, the thing that they did. They put the before and after. It's like watching somebody lost 50 pounds of weight. Just pretty compelling when you see the before and after, and you're saving 30, 40, 50% of your energy. But more importantly, you've got the ability to get better. Like you said, that the Kaizen style, that, you can't do it all at once. It's ridiculous, and it's hopeless. You might as well just, like you say, punt the football.
Yeah, you get overwhelmed. You just don't want to try.
But when you got really good, strong, you got a journey, you got a roadmap, you've got people that have already crossed the chasm, already done the majority of the heavy lifting for you. Now you just got to come up with the money and sell things. And that was another cool thing that you always say about, this isn't magic. No matter how good the technology, you're still going to have somebody that does the frontispiece that they serve.
Somebody's got to sell it. Somebody's going to sell it.
So they say about, coming to the sales process is changing, and how important it is to learn the most recent business cases, because we're not selling energy anymore. Although some of the cool things about the show that this time was, first we had video is going to overwhelm everything, and it's getting so cheap, and they're getting so good with it, and the bandwidth issues are being dealt with. But then we heard at the very end of it about somebody saying, video, good luck. With the privacy issues that are coming up and servicing that, you'll never get that video sensing thing to where you want it in this day and age. And they were comparing the sensors that the video world, the acceleration where they're having all the great successes are in these parts of the world where they don't have any choice. The government tells you this is how we're going to do it. China, for instance, and then they put all this video deployment. We got to see it. So it wasn't a democracy. It wasn't like North America or Western Europe where people are going to say, hey, my privacy comes before my security, or my personal privacy is more of an issue than our national defense or whatever.
Right.
It can become impediments. So they can actually stop it. They can actually take political movements and counter, make headwind against something like that. So
again, Kenny, I got to tell you something. I hear that argument, but I think we're so far down the line between Google and Amazon and all those people. I mean, you and I both know, man. You say something about having sweaty hands on your phone. Next thing you know, you're getting ads for sweaty hands. I'm convinced they're already listening, and I'm also convinced they're big fans of ControlTrends. So I would not let that be a headwind. I just think you got to embrace it. Don't do anything even in the privacy of your own home that you don't want broadcast on YouTube, because don't make the same mistakes I've made. Right.
Well, listen. As far as I think we're getting better at this, and the thing is about a conversation and a story, telling the story, and as you get to hear more presentations, you get to hear more intelligent comments on it. Your story improves. At least it should, anyhow. I hope mine does. But there's autonomous. In other words, the data is being autonomized, so nobody knows whose data. It's not particularly Eric's data or Ken's data. It's just
that's how they know to send those pills to me all the time, right? Because it's autonomized. That's why I get those emails, right? Right. Yeah. They listen to my wife talk, and next thing I know, I'm getting all these. No. Their definition of autonomy is that you don't get to
anonymous. I said autonomous. I meant anonymous.
Anonymous. Well, their definition of anonymous means that nobody knows that they're listening to you, but they definitely know who the hell we are.
No. Okay. That's two separate channels there. Okay. And I agree with what both you're saying, but you can't let them cross over. The first thing is that with your advertisement and your feedback, you've willingly agreed to say that you said, I want that. You took this iPhone, you turned it on, you put your name on it, and then you agreed to it. Whether you realized it or not at the time, you said that you were going to let Siri and whoever is inside there, whatever artificial intelligence is there, you said, be my friend, help me out, make my life easier, because you did. Whether you realize it or not.
No, dude, I just did. But look at this. Look at this. I just got something about blue pills. I mean, we just mentioned blue pills, and now I've got a special on blue pills. It happens that quick, Kenny. Jeez.
Well, you quit bragging now.
No, I don't know who my wife's talking to, but I mean, I just mentioned it. Here it comes, man. Damn, dude. Well, all right, but listen.
But what about the same guy who walks in his house and he wants it? How about the Honeywell commercial where the guy snaps his finger, fire?
That wasn't. I'm not saying. I'm not going to say it. Did you like that commercial, Kenny?
No, that was a me commercial, and we're in the we generation. And you and I, we pegged that thing 5 years ago. That thing disappeared quicker than.
Explain to our audience what the difference between a me and a we generation is.
Well, the book's called The Pendulum, and what happens is it swings every 20 years this way. It takes 20 more years to come this way. So, and the great illustrators of this is you deserve a Coke today, so get up and get away.
No. But you got to set it up. So the me generation is about me, right? Like, so
yeah. Well, I think I was getting there, but
okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So the jingles that were done by the best marketing experts and gurus in the world paid attention to this, because they've trashed this. This book goes back into several thousand years before BC. I mean, it goes back to the Egyptians, how even then they had the ability to recognize through their songs, their literatures, their compelling voice to the crowds to get them to get them motivated. With me means we go first, like they did with the hair. So the woman, you deserve it. Go get yourself. Go spend $50 on this hair color. But now we're in a we generation, so that's why you have like Toyota and all these car commercials getting everybody involved. It's all about the world. It's all about the community, and this shifts. This has been documented that it shifts from a we generation style to a me generation. All through our songs, through the history of songwriting has also followed this. So if you try to generate a me commercial in a we generation swing or period, you're going to turn people off, and that's sometimes what happens.
So you got to be in sync with, this is the book. The book was called Pendulum, right? It was really well researched and documented. And I think, I agree, Kenny, your advertising, your message better be at one level congruent with what part of the world we're in. So for example, most of us older guys remember when Dallas and Dynasty and all those, sort of adult soap operas were on, with J.R. Ewing and all that. That was definitely a me generation. It was about whatever it took. It was all about you beating the other guy, right? And it's interesting because that was such a great show back in the me generation. That show just killed it, and all those shows like that. And then they came back, and the we generation is about us, right? It's like everybody gets a trophy. The millennials are a byproduct of the we generation. It's about us. So,
look at the successful ones like Office. Look at all the successful sitcoms now. It's all a group of people. It's what's the one with the Brainiacs and
oh, I know what I'm talking about with Sheldon. All those, but
that's the number one show, and it's a group of people. It's a public.
Right. So nobody's better than anybody else. Mm-hmm. Everybody's kind of unique, but it's about the group. It probably started with Friends, but the TV show Friends. But you got to be in sync with. Now, the other thing that's interesting, Kenny, is there's always a harbinger that leads us to the next one. There's somebody that's like a front runner, a harbinger. And I mean, how many people would think that Donald Trump is a we guy? He is definitely a me guy. No, but what I'm getting at is, I think he's the harbinger, and so that's an indicator, according to the book, that we're getting ready to. And
Pendulum's coming back. Yes, it is.
They're usually about 10 years out or so. So it will go back the other way, and then. My advice to Honeywell is that commercial with the guy snapping his fingers, save that. Because in about 15 years, that's going to be an awesome commercial. It'll be right in sync with the we me pendulum cycle.
In Madison Avenue, that makes very few mistakes, and but even that the jingles, about the world, the Coca-Cola song that was the number one jingle of all time.
I'd like to teach the world to sing. You know who wrote that song?
Michael Jackson.
No. I like to teach the world to.
I'm teasing. No, it
was Don Draper from Mad Men. Didn't you see the last episode, dude?
No, he didn't. No, I don't know.
Man, he did.
I know Don. Don and I are good. We're buds.
You and Don Draper are buddies?
Hell yeah.
He's a fictitious character, dude. What's wrong with you?
That was such a good show. I never let Don out of the fold. He still hangs around.
All right, but who's your favorite character on that show?
He was.
Okay. Who do I remind you most of on that show? And for our audience out there, you can put this in comments if you want to, but there's a definite guy. Because Kenny, you could totally see him being Don Draper, right? All serious and all that stuff.
Well, there's so many good characters.
Dude, there's definitely one. Come on, man.
His boss, the guy who he worked for.
That old guy. What's wrong with you, Kenny? How about Roger Sterling?
Oh yeah. Roger Sterling, yeah, he was a good one too.
No, he was the guy. He's like, "Come on, Kenny, let's go get some cocktails."
Yeah, yeah, he was, and he screwed Don a couple times, and then loved him back again. They showed the to both ends of the source, both sides.
What was cool about that whole thing? And by the way, Don Draper's character was based on a guy named David Ogilvy, who actually did write that song for Coke, I think. He was the greatest advertising guys ever. In case you hadn't picked up, Kenny and I study a lot of marketing stuff because at the end of the day, we do marketing. So, all right, dude, we kind of got sidetracked.
We sure did.
Get your Coca-Cola back on.
We'll run through a couple real quick ones because Tritium had a technical bulletin about please update your Niagara software Chromium vulnerability. There's a security bulletin that's out, and these are coming out like with NIST. There's a constant update. There's a constant need to patch your software, and please, just take the time to do it. Have your guys, your IT guys, or your integrators get this stuff and get it done. Get her done, and get your customer stuff done too. And then we bounce into the ControlCon. Eric, we had about to begin. We had a recap of the 2017 video that Vladimir did for us that was just beautiful. Just 7 minutes of magic. Had the captured the general sessions, the keynote speakers, and it also had the very touching part about the Mr. Cochrane Senior.
Family. Yeah, Don Cochrane. That was, I think, his last big event, Don Cochrane Senior.
And then we slide into the industry insights. So there was over 600 integrators, which was really cool. Is that to the point that we're trying to make is we wrote a post about 4 or 5 years ago. It was called Trade Shows. Can't live with them, can't live without them. Right? Remember we talking about the HR show and how many people we as ourselves were told that the people could not justify the expense to go to Chicago. It was the Chicago one. And I said, well, you know what? If you're asking my honest opinion, I said, you should send 2 people, not 1. They asked me, should we send somebody? One, I said, you should probably send 2. I said, because ultimately there's going to be a business track, talk about the things we're talking about, marketing, whatever. There's going to be a technical track, and one person cannot possibly attend both things. It's dumb. You can't do it. I tried it more than once. Go to a half a session, get the other half a session. You're worthless. So the important thing now is we're seeing that you had the excuse me, you had business owners, you had systems integrators, you had vendors, you have solution providers. These shows now are attended by people from all ends of the industry, the end users, the real estate folks, and they're all learning from it, and they're all getting a common core vocabulary that they're taking back to their home bases, and they're saying, why are we so far afoot away from, why aren't we online with some of these things? So the only way you can really do it is you got to send a scout or a messenger or somebody, a trusted agent, whatever you want to call them. But every organization, company selling in this business has to go to these events. This Realcomm IBCon coming up, this incredible EasyIO event in the global haystack. It's very difficult to go to all of them. You got to pick your fights, but you could keep on track, and that's why I think ControlTrends. I think is what we do is we at least bring back the cliff notes. We bring back some of the videos, and we put the link from the event through the show, to the people that need to know about this stuff, because you have to stay abreast. And now the continuing education units, and to the point, and congratulations to Scott Cochrane, is they actually gave out a CEU. If you attended the business track session at the end of the session, they gave you a certificate of attendance that these engineers and all the people that are professionals that have to get so many CEUs per year, or you lose your certification. This was time well spent that you actually got a certificate. So they upped that game too. So you just have to go.
No, well, it's good stuff. And Kenny's right. What we try to do at ControlTrends, we try to go to all those conferences we can. We try to curate as much as we can and bring it back. So we got a ton of videos that we'll be posting over the next couple of weeks regarding ControlCon. Then we got the ones we'll be posting on Haystack. Then we got the ones we'll be posting on EasyIO. And then we go to Realcomm IBCon. But listen, Kenny, I want to take just a minute. I want to pause for a minute. Mm-hmm. And I want to personally thank all the people, and they're too numerous to name, that came up to us at the show, introduced themselves, and said, man, we really appreciate what you guys do. Thank you so much. I don't know about you, Kate, but for me personally, man, that makes it all worthwhile. And so thanks so much to those folks. We'll be coming to these other conferences, so please, if you ever see us, come up and say hello. I do get a little upset when they always ask you, they see me and they go, hey, Eric, I like it, man. Is Kenny around? could you introduce me to Kenny? You know, so
that happened one time. Most of the time, it's me.
A bunch of times, buddy. But
they say, hey, yeah, you're the other guy. Where's Eric? Where's Eric? That's the one. That's what I get. Where's Eric? Oh, ControlTrends is here. And they say hi to me, and then where's Eric?
Well, and so many great vendors there. Shout out to Martin Villeneuve from Distech and Scott Hamilton from Distech. Siemens was there. Belimo was there. Honeywell was there. We got a chance to sit down with Mike Keller, Mike Arceau. Talk to those guys. So, you know, at these events, and again, it gets back to that sort of theme we talked about earlier. It's as much who you know as what you know. And you know, I had one of my integrators come with me, a young guy named Brent Burrows, and we were talking about him and Aaron Gorka here in a minute. And it was kind of like, you know, I got to introduce Brent. You know, Brent sells Distech for us. Brent sells Honeywell. He sells some other brands. And for him to be able to get to go meet Mike Arceau, Mike Keller, Martin Villeneuve, Dan Preston from Johnson Controls. I mean, you know, it's just.
And Jim Morris, vice president, too, was there?
Oh, we got to get him on the show. He gave, you know, now this is the first time I'd heard Jim Morris, but boy, did he give a great talk. So, Jim Morris, if you're listening, we want you to come on the show. Very articulate, because again, you know, and now it's as much how you say something as what you say, Kenny. The reason being is because there's so much information. How can you take the complex and make it simple and understandable and make it interesting enough that people will actually listen to it and remember it? But that guy was fantastic.
Well, and don't forget, you had the whole Tritium squad there too. You had Kevin Smith, the chief technology officer. You had Ed Merwin, Scott Boehm, Laura Cavett, Therese Sullivan, Kevin Williamson. I mean, you had some really big hitters there. Yeah. And you know, you can't go wrong if you're in the crowd listening to what they got to say, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, Kenny. Absolutely. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about Aaron Gorka from Ad Technologies. If you don't know Aaron, his company has an amazing product that basically allows you to streamline your HVAC work. You talk about a guy that just really takes using data in a very useful way that will make you money. Aaron grew up in the contracting business. His dad had a contracting company, and the Ad Technologies is a fantastic product. So I encourage you to check that out. But Aaron had sort of stepped in and was doing Next Generation Innovation, the podcast. He was doing it solo and doing a fantastic job. So this week, his last solo episode, he interviewed two professors from a college in Canada. The name evades me right now, but I'm sure Kenny will tell me in a second. And really and truly about the practicality of how to have, you know, the systems work with the equipment, you know, the theories, and then the real life examples. It was very, very informative. It was his last solo podcast. So I encourage you to check that out. I think it was Catoosa College up in Canada. So Aaron's done a great job. Now he has partnered with the aforementioned Brent Burrows from Intech. And Brent is another young guy that he's in the field every single day. Very clever guy, very entertaining guy. And they are collaborating now on the Next Generation Innovation podcast. We actually shot their first video episode while we were at ControlCon. So we'll be airing that on ControlTrends later in the week. And
the college was Conestoga College, Institute of Technology and Advanced Learning, just for the Canadian ones. Just so we give him the good cue. Right. And then he just got back from Poland too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I mean,
wasn't that company over in Poland? They won a ControlTrends awards, right?
Yeah, they did. They were one of the contractors at Master Systems Integrators. And let's see, the GC5, and they're well, we've been invited to go to Poland, Eric. And so, I mean, they want us to come and take a look. Aaron said he got to visit their manufacturing plant, and he said it's European, it's very efficient and state of the art. They're very proud of the work they're doing, and they intend to come into the North American market. They're moving. They were in the East Eurasian market, I guess they call it, and Western Europe market. But now, I think the North American market always seems to be, the 10 on the targets, because I think we're ripe. I think what we're seeing so much influence from the Department of Energy moving. We're seeing a smart grid. We're seeing automated demand response, and we're seeing these things dovetailing together. And we need more people to put in more of these sophisticated, low impact, but very capable systems now to integrate into, get things done and get it done right and make people happier, more productive inside buildings. So
I think what you're trying to say is there's more work now than there are integrators to be able to do it.
Yeah, but in products too, because I mean, there's solutions. Every time we hear a new solution, it seems like these smaller companies are learning so quickly where some of the other players went in first, but didn't quite make it right and easy enough. And like Johnson's Verisys, I was very impressed with the reiteration of Johnson Verisys, and they put that up on the big board. The Vice President Johnson got up, and he's very proud of what they've done with Verisys, to make it easier, not plug and play, but to bring the formidability of those big front ends down to a low end or a smaller building. Let's say less than 50,000 square feet, because that's where as Mike Marston told us about the triangle with marketing, people are fighting like heck over that top 10% of that triangle that represents the highest, hardest, of course, the biggest jobs, but the real market is in that real the broad part of the triangle. The base of the triangle has not even been really penetrated. So that's where we're seeing these guys like GC5 come in and saying, look, and also you've got maybe a bunch of them like Optergy, and you've got Den, the guys from Europe. They're coming over. They're sponsors this year too. Come on, Ken. They make the great touchpad displays.
Oh, Lloydtech, doggone it. Yeah. Sorry about that, Daryl Clayson. But they have an opportunity here, and there's going to be plenty of market there. So we're seeing the marketing catch up with that. We're seeing the ability to address that. Right now, I'm going to disagree with you about the marketing. I think that marketing now is probably one of the most important things that the manufacturers need to do, because there's so much coming at you. How do you have your product stand out in such a way that it can get in? And when I say by that, I think that's one of the most difficult jobs for any of these folks right now, probably one of the most important ones. So I want to cycle back around.
Well, let me just do one plug, because I was actually going to plug us.
You're going to plug us? Okay, plug us, baby.
I was going to plug ControlTrends, saying that they came to us because they're trying to get into the markets.
Yeah, well, Kenny and I, look, shameless plug. Kenny and I, if you want to get hooked up, Kenny and I know a guy. We know another guy. In all seriousness, that's we're here to help, right?
Well, give an honest evaluation and put it in where, kind of where it needs to go, and get it to the people that need it and want it. And it's an ongoing process, but I think
now, I was getting ready to give us a plug too. So
okay.
I plug now?
Yep.
All right.
Plug.
So one of the best ways to get your messaging out there is to have a podcast. And look, we've got the ControlTrends Podcasting Network. We've been setting that up for the last couple of years. We got a heck of an audience. We know how to produce these podcasts, and I think a lot of people get put off by it. We had several people that reached out to us, actually at Cochrane's thing, that were interested in doing a podcast, kind of like Next Generation Innovation or whatever. So here's our proposition for you. For a fee, a very reasonable fee, we can produce a podcast for you. And we're kind of a unique position to this because we got the ControlTrends Podcast Network. So what you're probably really good at is recording the information, right? Which is basically you take a phone, you put a microphone into it, can give you the gear, you do the dialogue, you Dropbox us the files. We can edit them. We can make sure we get the right content in there. We can make sure they're transcribed. We can get you a cool opener. We get you a cool ending. We can make sure it's hosted properly. We can make sure that we get your podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio that can be found. But here's the big one, Kenny. First and foremost, we can promote your podcast to people that already listen to podcasts on this subject. So if you're interested in that at all, you can reach out to me and Kenny through my email address, which is much easier to understand than Kenny's email address that he had for ControlTrends. The email address you can send that to is, check this out, Kenny, are you ready?
Is it my
HVAC?
You can hit me.
HVAC Control Pro at gmail.com. HVAC Control Pro at gmail.com. Let us know.
Oh, good. I thought you were putting me on guard there.
No.
ControlTrends Contact at gmail.com.
ControlTrends Contact 954 at gmail.com sometimes. Yeah. No, that didn't work. That's what we got. HVAC Control Pro at gmail.com. Or you can just reach out in comments and say, hey, reach out, hook me up. But having your own podcast is such a great way. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And again, we've done enough of these. We're producing enough of these for other people that we can really get you on track. We can help you avoid the mistakes that we made. It took us years to learn, and go from there. So cycling back to Brent Burrows, Brent is also doing an example of this. Brent is in the field all the time. He is doing an HVAC tech tip that we're helping promote on our YouTube channel because we already got the audience. We're promoting on Control Trends. So we're able to sort of put Brett in the spotlight as an HVAC expert, which he is. He's a young guy, brilliant guy. And so if you're an HVAC control pro out there, a smart building control pro, and maybe you just got something to say, but I don't have time to do YouTube. I don't have to do any of this stuff, but you got some knowledge you want to pass on. Take your smartphone out, shoot a video. I'll tell you how to Dropbox it to me. We'll edit it. We'll put it up, and we will give you credit for it. So it's the best of all worlds. All you have to do is just share the knowledge. We'll do the editing. We'll do all that hard part. We'll get it up on YouTube. We'll get it out on Control Trends, and we will give you the credit. So one of our tenets when you talk about marketing, Kenny, in this busy digital space world where nobody does deep work anymore, we can get you top of mind very easily, and you need to be easily found, and we can help you do that. So we're here to help. Tell us your digital marketing problems. We're here to help. We'll Instagram you. We'll Facebook you. We'll tweet you. We'll can't say we'll Pinterest you. I don't know how to do that yet. That sounds a little perverted to me. And then we'll do all the rest of the stuff too, right?
There you go. It's getting to be the transition from, like we were saying too, in marketing, and I didn't mean to like a selfless plug or
we're definitely selfless plugging. That's our new motto.
What I meant to say is that the more you go to these shows and the more networking you do, the more people that you start to see in sets of people that arrive, get there, do business, and leave, specifically to meet certain people and see certain things and hear certain things or do presentations. And when you find that there's this current of people, you're at the right place. You know that you're at the kind of the epicenter of that particular event's core. The people that are the most competent are coming to these things, and like even with the EZIO with the Global World Conference, people from America, and the 2 or 3 folks that are coming there, and they're going for a very important reason. One is that they're being asked to share their technology, and that's how you would expand your portfolio and get a chance to sell into a non-conventional opportunity. Because if you're doing something so well that you're the dominant player, with a particular system, and you have economy of scales, and you can build things and get adopted by one of the utility companies is using your stuff as one of the mandatory systems to use. You get 2 or 3 choices. Then you want to expand your markets. You can't sit at home and you can't wait for somebody to hit your website.
Well, yeah, because you can have the best product in the world, but if you're not out there. And so, Kenny, one of the things I've learned in marketing, is that you need to make it a relatable story. So what you just said about being at these conferences, when all the people around the major players, go back to high school, you're at the cool kids party.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where you want to be. You had to do all of it. You had to go to the jocks party, you had to go to the hippies party, and you had to go to the cool party.
We're not going to talk about all the times you got thrown in jail. Look, we're going to transition. Anything else you want to say before we hop off here, big dog?
No, other than that, just recap the Ken's calendar stuff. And is that we got some big events coming. You got the Haystack coming up on the 11th to the 13th of May at San Diego at a beautiful resort area. Please check the link there. You have the EZIO Global World Conference, May 19th. We're going to be there 19th through the 21st. And then you have the Realcomm IBCon. And, we got a chance to talk to Jim Young. You talk about a dynamic, a guy that just he's on top of so much. I don't know how he does it. He's got a great staff. And Howard Berger and Lisa Woods are out there, and they're just getting ready to put on a big, important show again. I got a chance to see the synopsis of some of these breakouts. They have 150 breakouts. And if you want to know where the faculty's hanging out with the most advanced, researched, up-to-date information regarding your smart connected building, it is Realcomm IBCon 2014. I'm sorry, 2019 down in Tennessee.
Nashville. We'll be there. And then also, CABA is another one. Ron Zimmer and his boys are doing a lot of great research there too. Kenny, we did something really, really, it was the first time we did it. We did something pretty cool at ControlCon, which is we actually live streamed some of the presentations into Instagram Live. So I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to do it from Haystack next week, or week after next. I'm going to try and do it from Europe. So if you're interested in that, definitely follow me on Instagram. My Instagram handle that I use for The live stream is HVAC Control Pro. Okay. And there's a picture of me, HVAC Control Pro. So definitely hit that up. Follow me on that. And then you'll be able to watch the live stream. So this is what it looks like right there. Okay. HVAC Control Pro.
Cool.
All right, man. And then we live streamed into Facebook too. We got the ControlTrends Smart Buildings podcast and videocast group on Facebook. You can follow that too. And then of course the YouTube channel, ControlTrends Smart Buildings on YouTube. So we're really getting a lot of content out, Kenny, probably more content than we ever have. We're not able to put it all on the ControlTrends.com site. We're sort of curating the right sort of information for the different channels. So all of them are a little bit different. Your base is definitely ControlTrends.com. But then, like I say, check out the YouTube channel. Definitely check us out on Instagram. We're doing more stuff there. And with that big dog, man, let's get social. What do you say?
Okay.
All right. All right. All right, Kenny, before we hop off, man, the answer everybody has been waiting for. Where in the world was Kenny Smyers? Kenny, I'm going to read these to you, and then we're going to tell us what it is. Again, Kenny was sequestered by GSA, consulting with them on cybersecurity for the Smart Building Controls Network. Was Kenny at a Ralph Lauren photo shoot in Napa Valley as a model for the men's summer line? Kenny sequestered, consulting with a major controls company that was getting ready to revamp their building automation control product line. Was Kenny in Liverpool, where he was doing an article for Esquire magazine on the early days of the Beatles? Was Kenny on a mission from God, location everywhere? Was the answer all of the above? Was Kenny doing all of the above? Or the final answer was Kenny doing none of the above? Kenny, the audience is waiting with bated breath. Where were you?
Oh, let me just say thank you for your attention there. I don't know how you came up with this one, but I think this is I don't say a disappointment, but no, the GSA did not contract me or sequester me.
But they should have.
No, I was not on a photo shoot in Silicon Valley or Napa Valley with.
But you should have been. You should have been.
No control company had me in a locked room, pull me apart, come up with a more intelligent controller.
But they should have.
And I'd been to the Beatles before, so if you'd asked me this 2 years ago, I would have said yes.
And I would have been there with you, right?
I know, so that you'd have had insight. And the mission for God and from God, we're always on the mission from God all the time, everywhere. But actually, Eric, none of the above.
None of the above is the answer. There you go, Kenny. All right, to our ControlTrends community. Let me see who won that. Actually, an E. Stromquist from Atlanta won that $50 gift card. Congratulations, E, whoever you are. All right, buddy. With that, we're going to call it a week. So there you go. You have another week on Control Talk Now, your Smart Buildings videocast and podcast for the week ending May 5th, 2019. Hey, hopefully you're not watching this on Sunday, like Kenny and I are sitting there recording this. We're going to go get a life. So you're going to have some fun after this. I'm going to have some fun after this. So let's just tell our audience, thanks for tuning in. Remember, be bold, stay in control, stay relevant, and get connected.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed. Kenny Smyers.
Boom, boom, there's a knock at the door, but don't freeze in your tracks. It's that chance that you've been waiting for. It's the light coming through the